Those 25% tariffs on Mexico and Canada are off, at least for now. But the 10% additional tariff on Chinese goods is still on, and that fallout may still impact your wallet. So first, what's happening? President Trump made a short-term deal with both Mexico and Canada today, just hours before those huge tariffs were set to take effect. But before these deals were announced this morning, when the threats of retaliatory tariffs from both Canada and Mexico on all kinds of American goods were still on the line, the U.S. stock market tanked. At one point, it was down more than 600 points. Obviously, traders hate this tariff plan, and even the conservative Wall Street Journal called it the dumbest trade war in history. Now, we know President Trump watches the market very carefully, and whether that market nosedive had anything to do with him sort of backing off that tariff threat and wanting to quickly make these deals with Canada and Mexico, we just don't know. But here's what we do know about the deal that was just struck with Canada and the deal that was struck with Mexico earlier this morning. With both of these deals, you have to understand the tariff threat is not gone. It's just postponed 30 days. And according to Canada's Prime Minister, their $1.3 billion border plan to reinforce the U.S.-Canadian border with technology and equipment and personnel to stop the flow of fentanyl with 10,000 frontline personnel will continue. Canada has also agreed to appoint a fentanyl czar and launch a Canada-U.S. joint strike force to combat organized crime, fentanyl, and money laundering. Canada will also back a new $200 million intelligence directive to target organized crime and fentanyl within Canada. President Trump today said he wanted something else from Canada.
What I'd like to see, Canada become our 51st state. We give them protection. We don't need them for the cars. We don't need them for lumber. We don't need them for anything. We don't need them for energy. We have more energy than they do. We don't need them for energy. As a state, it's different. As a state, it's much different. And there are no tariffs. So I'd love to see that.
Obviously, he did not get that concession from Canada today, but the Canadian Prime Minister did say that the U.S. and Canada will continue to work together on border issues over these next 30 days to avoid this tariff war from sparking up again. As for Mexico, President Trump had a conversation with Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum this morning to pause the 25% tariffs for 1 month.
We had a great talk with Mexico, and we had President Sheinbaum is a woman. I like her very much. We've had good relationships, but we have to stop fentanyl from coming in, whether I like somebody or not, and we have to stop the illegal aliens. And they've agreed to put in 10,000 soldiers permanently, like forever, 10,000 soldiers at their side of the border and stop fentanyl and illegal aliens from coming into our country. They have a big incentive to do. Other than that, we've agreed to talk and consider various other things. We haven't agreed on tariffs yet, and maybe we will, maybe we won't.
And what he left out of that was the United States also conceded something in this deal with Mexico. According to President Sheinbaum, the two reached a series of agreements, and she said the United States is also committed to working to prevent the trafficking of high-powered weapons to Mexico. Now, during his press conference in the Oval Office, President Trump said he and President Sheinbaum and delegations from both the U.S. and Mexico will continue to negotiate issues along the border for these next 30 days to keep these tariffs at bay. Now, while the tariffs on Mexico and Canada have been paused, the additional 10% tariff on Chinese goods is still on, at least for right now. It will take effect at midnight Eastern tonight. That tariff will obviously impact your wallet if you are buying any kind of product from any American company that imports that product originally from China. That could be all kinds of things: electronics, iPhones, clothing, toys, laptops, you name it. Now, you're probably wondering why President Trump did this in the first place. Well, he said today because that tariff threat strategy worked so well with Colombia a few weeks ago, he wanted to use it with Mexico, Canada, and China. And he said today that the European Union is next.
With Colombia, it was going to be a disaster. In one hour, everything was settled. You know why? Tariffs. Tariffs. Without tariffs, they wouldn't have been the same way. They would not have treated me the way they treated me, which was extremely nicely. And I don't want to use countries, I don't want to use names, but tariffs are very powerful, both economically and in getting everything else you want. Tariffs for us, nobody can compete with us because we're the pot of gold.